Have you ever noticed how your relationships naturally shift as you begin to heal from within? In my journey, I've noticed since looking within, since resolving my own traumas, limitations, and beliefs about what I can or cannot do in this world, naturally the outwardly experience and interactions of others with others has changed. And a lot of the times, when you are going through your own spiritual awakening and your expansion of your consciousness, it can feel very isolating. And you are probably naturally retreating from the world. You are going into the cave, so to speak. You are entering hermit mode, and this is a natural progression of and reflection of tuning within because the since becoming awakened, you might have operated from a place where you were constantly reacting to things around you, where you were constantly being led from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Um, Almost like you're on autopilot because the noise of this world and of all of the voices around us that are telling us from a very young age what to do, how to be, how to show up, what you should want is endless. And so and all consuming. So once you have hit that point where you are beginning, the light is beginning to come on, you are awakened to yours, you're awakening to yourself and to others and to the truth of us as unity consciousness. Your whole field is recalibrating to begin to operate from a more stable ground and footing of from truth. And so naturally, we retreat, we go back into ourselves, and we take this quiet time to reflect, to understand what is going on, to familiarize ourselves and begin to know ourselves at an even deeper level, to build that relationship with not just ourselves, but our higher power, with God, with the universe, with whoever that is for you, right? Whatever you call it. For me, I call it's God, right? So we begin to recalibrate to what's true. We begin to sharpen um, our own ability to discern truth, to truly live a life from wholeness and from peace and from surrender to that divine power that's wanting to express itself through our life. And as you go through that journey, eventually, and maybe, tell me if this resonates with you, because I know for me, when I was going through that path, it was, months, years even, where relationships were falling away naturally, progressively. Conscious intention was going into where I place my energy and time. And so that led to a lot of periods of isolation, of being alone, of truly making decisions for myself or my wholeness. And it was a little bit sad, right? Not a little bit, it was sad. And it also feeds into the self-doubt of, am I making the right choice? Like, and then we kind of fall into the trap of maybe I should go back to those relationships. Maybe they weren't that bad. There were times they were nice to me, right? And all the but at some point you are going to come to this conclusion where you are attuned to your truth, and you are attuned, and you have so much wholeness in your heart and your being that you can show up in relationships again. And for me, it was beginning to realize that there were some relationships that were naturally progressing and evolving with me, and willing to open, expand to meet more of who I am, and vice versa, myself meet more of who they are, and others that naturally detracted, that didn't want to be part of this expansive journey. Because once you begin to know who you truly are and honor that and live with full integrity with that and express that and embody that, people who are not living that way, who are still in survival, who are still hiding, who are still wanting to be invisible, who are still not taking accountability, subconsciously and sometimes consciously, they don't want to be around you. They don't want to be illuminated. They don't want to be held accountable. And so what happens is they naturally remove themselves from their life, from your life. They might disappear. They might um just, you know, go incognito. You're like, where'd that person go? Um, and if it's someone that you might still see, sometimes you might trigger them. It might lead to some friction. It might lead to some conversations. And again, that inner work, that deeper journey of knowing who you are and staying footed and rooted in that is going to help you navigate those conversations and those scenarios. And and hopefully not lead you back into feeling obligated and being manipulated into going back into this same relationship dynamic that you may have had previously, because eventually you, like I said, you're going to remove yourself from the isolation, you're going to return to community, you're going to return to certain relationships, although the difference will be that you have changed internally. You know who you are more fully. You are committed to your truth. You're committed to your authenticity. And hopefully, you will choose not to dim your light anymore. And so, people might think of this as, oh, well, forget them. And like, and it's not about ego. It's not about us versus them. It's not about they're wrong, I'm right. Because I noticed once I started making my way back into opening myself up to relationships again, I realized that there was still little a piece of me that wanted to do that. And, as you're becoming more and more aware, I realized and it pinged me and I'm like, huh, I'm still creating this old dynamic. I am still creating, even though I have much peace, I know who I am, I have that relationship deepening with God, and overall relationships have improved. I'm attracting new relationships that are more aligned. When you come into contact with someone maybe that you've known for a really long time, and let me know if this has happened to you, you notice yourself going back into this old dynamic or creating separation and distance as and which is really ego saying like, oh, I'm better than them, or or it might disguise itself as we're going our own separate ways, but there's like this feeling of like what they're doing is wrong and what you're doing is right, and be honest with yourself, right? So as soon as I started noticing that, I realized like, gosh, this just doesn't feel right. And then I thought, I tuned within, I asked my body, I asked for guidance, I asked for understanding. And I was realizing I have to, I realized I was creating that dynamic again. And it was again draining my own energy and power to this idea of this is how it has to be. And so when I released that, I realized um, them coming up in my field can just be an awareness for me of how I no longer choose to operate. It doesn't have to come from judgment. It doesn't have to come from separation. It can just come from pure awareness and then conscious choice and intention to use my energy in a different way, while at the same time holding them in acceptance. Doesn't mean I have to spend time with them. Doesn't mean I have to interact with them constantly. Doesn't mean we have to be BFFs. Just means I see them, I accept them, I release. Because once you create this dynamic of me versus them, I'm better, they're not, they're wrong, I'm right, you pour energy into that. You create more of that because there's still something within you that's not whole, that's not integrated. So once I could realize that, I noticed just how much more peace I had, just how much more it didn't affect me. And so deepening further into that, I realized um, with those same type of relationships, it's I have to be honest when something is truly triggering something within me or causing a certain feeling within me. And instead of placing blame again, all over again, see what is within me that still needs to be seen, that wants to be whole again, that wants to be integrated in truth and light. And that's where you will find true freedom. That's where you will find true justice, as opposed to feeling like you have to win somehow. If that's like the indicator, if that's how you feel, then that's a really huge ping that this is not truly your soul speaking, that it's ego. And that doesn't mean you won't have boundaries and you won't protect yourself and you won't, you're still going to make conscious, intentional, discerning decisions, but they'll come from a whole and loving place instead of a resentful, judgmental, illusioned separation state. And yeah, I know this is like my second video I made today, but I think this is what I love about the summer is I just have so much openness and freedom and time to kind of integrate and simmer in things that I've learned and experienced and want to share and have the time to just and space just come on and share some of these thoughts. And hopefully will help you because again, I know it can, sometimes this journey of healing and awakening can feel so lonely and separate. But now, as someone who is on the other side, and it's been, if I mean, obviously you're going through this your whole life, but really in the thick of it, for me, for the past 3 or more years, I want to say even 6 years, probably just being on the other side, seeing this, I know it's like you always see those messages that are like, when you're on the other side, you're going to track your soul relationships and soul family. And I always thought, like, oh my gosh, is it really going to happen though? Because it can get lonely. It can get, yeah, it can feel isolating. And the truth of that is, from my experience, is it's so true because now, naturally, operating from who I truly am, authentically, fully allowing myself to be seen in the world as I am, has truly, truly attracted new relationships, more aligned relationships, more expansive relationships, and friendships, um, just friends, partners, business partners, and like community members, everything, just anyone that you come into contact with, you're going to realize it's just, you're going to have a new level and quality of relationship and friendship that you've never had before because you have returned to your wholeness, to your essence. And so, and those relationships that do ultimately trigger us or create certain feeling or tension within us are still going to be there. And again, each give yourself grace, slow down, hold the awareness, and truly look within to find that peace again, to reclaim that because again, it's just something within you that's wanting to be seen. And when you truly operate from your wholeness and from love, once those people are around you, I truly believe that they won't have that effect on you no longer because you'll have totally, completely detached from it. And if they're operating from a certain way, you'll just have the awareness to see it, to hold it, accept it, and ultimately, because you accept it, release it. Because as soon as you're triggered it by it, you're judging it, you're pushing it away, it's ensnared you already. But if we can just hold the awareness and be the awareness and the light witnessing the other person, right? Then we don't allow ourselves to be by that energy. And we can just simply focus our attention and energy on being more of who we truly are. And again, that's another thing when you see people like that who trigger you, Once you're ensnared in that by judging them, by creating distance, by pushing away, you're no longer operating from your authentic truth. You've allowed yourself to be pulled out of your authentic truth by something outside of you. And so, again, it's another practice and strengthening for your and training for your holding your own frequency. And so I encourage you to practice that next time when you see someone or around something that is a little bit triggering. Witness it, hold it, and focus on holding your frequency, who you are, and allowing yourself to be who you are, regardless of what may be going on around you, and operate from that place. Because, yeah, once we see, if we're surrounded by things that kind of make us uncomfortable or angry or uh, feel a certain way, sometimes our tendency is to dim, is to shrink, is to retreat, is to move back, is to do all these things that aren't really operating from the highest truth of who we are, our most authentic self, our biggest self, our brightest self shining, right? And that's not to say like don't be tactful or don't um um make conscious choices, but you want to move with you don't want to be performing because if you're in a situation where you're with someone or with a scenario where it makes you uncomfortable and you're retracting and you're distancing yourself and then you decide to leave and you dim your light and all this stuff, then you that's that allowing that to shift you, to change you, right? When really, again, we should be who we are all the time with full integrity, full authenticity, detach from those entities of dense energies of negativity of people who are triggering us and see them as they are and choose who we want to be fully expressive regardless of that. And then if we choose, okay, it's time to leave, then leave, right? But at least it's coming from a place of choice and not like I have to do this and because I'm ensnared now with this feeling of just you know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't mean you'll never be triggered. It just means like you're not allowing it to dictate your life and your actions and your behavior and your feelings anymore. You are aware of it. You know how to hold your own frequency, alchemize it, and ultimately still move from this greater awareness and from ultimately wholeness and authenticity of who you are. Okay, I know that was like a garble, huge of words. And like in the past I've talked to people like, yeah, I can feel so abstract what you're talking about, but hopefully that made sense. But just wanted to come on and share that another quick thing because it was at the top of my mind. And yeah, hopefully that helped you. So I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.